Next, board members, if bring your attention to our general consent calendar. At this time, if there's items you would need polled for discussion, this is time to do it. Board member Laura Belknap.
Yes, Chair, I'd like to poll number 6, R277477.
Okay. Board member Jenny Earl.
Sorry, I'm not pulling mine up yet. Maybe someone could tell me what number this is. It's the early childhood one. I just had a question on it, so. 12. Okay, so 12. Yes, that's the one.
Okay. Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion to approve the consent calendar with those items polled. Is there a second? Oh, a bunch of seconds. Not seeing any discussion, so let's vote. All in favor? Oh.
Sorry.
Oh. Will you turn your mic back on? Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
So on item 7, I just want to be clear, are we approving draft 1 or draft 2? The backup documentation talks about draft 1, but there's a draft 2, so I just want to be clear.
Board Member Lear.
Have that right, and I don't have that in front of me. Let me just, I had an amendment to that.
So let's pull
To
7.
pull that, yes, please, thank you. That was
Okay,
a
thank you.
very subtle clue, thank you. Prompt or whatever.
Okay. So items 6, 12, and 7 have been pulled. Since we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with those items pulled, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting is unanimous. We'll go to Board Member Belknap on item 6.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we move item number 6, R277277, back to committee for further review.
Okay, we have a motion to move it back to committee. Item 6 and a second. Any discussion to that motion? So the motion before the board is to move item 6 of our consent calendar back to committee for review. Not seeing any discussion, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting was unanimous. Board member Jenny Earl, did you want to speak to item 12?
Yeah, I'm sure this will probably be pretty quick. I just had a question on, there's a date list, or it says date on the public review meeting, but there's no date yet. I don't know if that's just not been solidified. It's on the agenda public review meeting. I didn't know if that was a miss or if there is. And I do realize there's a public review flyer, so I didn't know if how those were coordinated. I don't know if there's someone,
Okay, please come up.
so.
I'm Jamie Robinson, the preschool through second grade specialist.
Hi.
And so we did just submit, we attached a flyer with the specific dates on there. So I apologize that it wasn't in
Okay,
the
so
memo.
the one would take the place of the other? Is that what,
So the dates that we have are December 5th.
today?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're headed to Richfield this afternoon. So, so December 5th. Yeah, right? And we're hoping that the snow will cooperate, so. And then December 18th, the reason we picked that date was because we are down there for a kindergarten transition summit that day as well. And so we were trying to be conscientious of spending taxpayer money and scheduled it for that night as well. And then January 7th and January 15th.
Okay, thanks. That helps with the clarification. So hopefully we'll get people out to Sevier, right?
Right.
If there's just a, yeah, okay, short notice it looks like or not. Were
No.
these out last week or something?
Yeah.
Oh, they were, okay,
Yeah, we've
okay.
had them out to the preschool population for quite some time. Ever
Okay.
since it was approved last month, we sent the dates like within that week.
Okay, it just didn't
So-
get included on the other
Right.
paper. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
So it's okay, we're not taking action on those items, but it's still in our packet. It was an information item. Okay, thank you. Board Member Lear, you had something on item 7. Did you want a proposed amendment? Is it in writing someplace or a change?
That is available on the, so I have a motion to accept draft 2, and that has one minor amendment. Well, I was
So-
waiting for him to say, would you like to speak to that? Because I don't usually wait for that. So let's
So I-
wait for that, Laura.
So I'm wanting to get your, so you're proposing.
Is to adopt draft 2 that has one additional slight amendment.
Okay, do you want to state that amendment?
Sure.
And then
It's on line
So you want
130.
to, you want to do draft 2 as amended, and here's your amendment.
Right,
And
my
then-
amendment, my
and then you can
proposed
speak to
amendment. My proposed amendment's on line
And then-
130.
But let's get the amendment first, and then we'll get a second.
Well, it's just draft 2, what you,
But she has an amendment on draft 2.
No,
is the
no,
amendment.
Oh, I thought you had an
no, the
amendment to it.
amendment is proposed as draft 2.
Oh, okay, I thought you were going to add something to it. Okay, my bad, thank you. So we have
Unclear.
a motion from Board Member Lear to accept draft 2. Is there a second? Okay, and then to speak to your
Motion?
motion, please.
It's a very, I think, a short amendment. I considered doing what Laura did with the trust lands rule, but I think this could be easily amended. The idea was that the board, having responsibility for all these students, charter school students as well as traditional school students, should see if other action is needed to be taken if there's a problem with a charter school. And so I wanted to give the board the latitude to do that with line 130, take other action in the direction of the board. The superintendent would be able to do that.
Okay. Okay, discussion to the amendment. Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
I'm going to speak against the amendment just because it seems very open and vague to say that the board can take other action. Pretty much, the intent of the rule was to allow some leeway for the superintendency to look at disbursement of funds in situations that might be uncertain or possibly precarious. And obviously, that's unknown depending on the circumstance of the charter school. But to say we can just take other action at the direction of the board seems really open to anything. And I don't know that putting something like that in rule, saying that, well, we could put you on a reimbursement, or we could do anything else under the sun, I think is a little bit vague and leaves it in a precarious position as far as what the expectation of that probationary state of a charter school might look like.
Yeah, so I don't have your mic on. There we go. Board Member Lear.
I don't think it's precarious at all. I think it is the responsibility of the board to take what action the board sees is needed. I think that, in fact, the board should step up and be concerned about the students and be concerned about the other LEAs in the area if there is a concern about a charter school. I think it might be possible, whereas number A says place state appropriations in a reimbursable status for 2 months might be the direction to the superintendent, might be for 9 months. I think that it gives some opportunity for flexibility for the board that the board needs. I know that the prior board thought that rules should not limit the board's authority at all. And I've always been a fan of saying, no, I think that the board should tell others what action it's going to take. But in this case, I think it's so crucial, and we've seen some recent examples of problems that the board needed to react to quickly, that I think we should have the authority under this rule to give the superintendent that opportunity.
Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
Has this amendment been looked at by legal counsel? Do we have the legal authority to do anything we want to a charter school that's been designated in probation?
Brian, AAG Quisenberry, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, I haven't reviewed this, but I think the board does have that kind of authority.
Board Member Buse, you're welcome to come up.
Oh,
Board member.
under the.
I mean, not Board Member Buse, AAG Buse,
AAG
sorry.
Buse. Under the federal law, in terms of looking at grant issues, that one is clear and says that you can take other actions as you find appropriate, and then other actions that the board has the authority under certain conditions to be able to remove a charter from a school. So any other condition would be less than what your maximum authority is. So I can't imagine one that would be more drastic than that when you have that authority.
Does that answer your question, Brittany, Vice Chair Brittany Cummins? Yes.
So we, as a state board, have the ability to remove a charter?
Under conditions that you look at the statutes that say if the authorizer shows this happens and this happens and this happens. So there are stages that it needs to go through and things that have to happen. But in terms of you being able to put conditions on a charter, that's something that's very common in like the federal law. It says here are 4 or 5 things you can do, and then they add a catch-all that says any other action at the discretion of the SEA. The charter school would have an opportunity to be able to at least respond to that and challenge it under due process. Not necessarily have a hearing, but be able to respond. So I can't point out to you exact statutory authority that says, yes, you have the authority to make them operate under certain conditions, but like Brian said, I foresee that it's something that's within your power.
Board Member Lear, did you have another comment?
If it would make Board Member Cummins, Vice Chair Cummins feel better, if it makes other board members more comfortable, I would be willing to say, take other action at the direction of the board consistent with the law. If that is kind of a qualifying phrase that would give, again, greater comfort to board members that it's not completely wide open, it's not any action at all that's arbitrary.
Board Member Belknap?
I think for clarity, if we go back to 122, line 122, it's very clear that the only time you can do line 130 is if the school is on probation or if they are pending closure. It doesn't give you anything like on a warning status or anything else. It's very clear of where that opportunity or that option is. That it does for this.
To some extent.
Any
is
other
fine. questions
questions or comments on the proposed amendment of draft 2 for R277553? Vice Chair Brittany Cummins?
If I could make the motion to include the language, the amendment, to amend the amendment to say, take other action at the direction of the board consistent with other federal and state laws.
And I'll second that.
So we have an amendment to the amendment, and we have a second. Who seconded it?
I did. Can I second it?
Yeah. Any discussion to the amendment to the amendment?
Without saying, but.
Where is it being written? Am I seeing it? Okay, the motion before the board is to accept the amendment to the amendment, which adds consistent with okay, so we're all getting to see it and read it. The phrase at the end of line 130, consistent with other state and federal law. Is it law or laws? Law. Okay, let's, not seeing any discussion on that, let's vote on the amendment to the amendment.
Just a technical, I think consistent with.
Are you okay with that in your? Okay. Without objection, we'll have it. So the proposed amendment to the amendment is to add the following phrase at the end of line 130, consistent with state and federal law. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Voting was unanimous. So the motion before the board is to accept R277-533 draft 2 as amended. I'm not seeing any other discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Voting is unanimous. I think that takes care of all of our consent items.